Media. We are here together to speak for the silenced, the faceless, and the oppressed. We are here to offer prayers and a moment of silence for the lives that have been stolen. With that being said, we will have some speakers and we'll conclude with prayer led by Imam Abdul Latif and a closing statement followed by a moment of silence. So our first speaker, we have Sami Deeb, who is a community member who studied the Palestine-Israel conflict and gave talks about it for 25 years. So please welcome Sami.
Thank you all. I was told I have 10 minutes to cover the Israeli-Arab conflict. It seems that every once in a while just something breaks up in around Gaza, rockets are fired, and that's how the conflict is presented to us in the mainstream media. Otherwise, there is peace. Nothing else is going on. It's just calm and everything is fine. But I want to cover the origin of Gaza, and before I cover that, the whole thing is the whole conflict has to be covered from the beginning. Gaza, most of the people in Gaza, 70% of them, 70% of 2.3 million people crammed in a small island, are a product of Israel's ethnic cleansing of 1948. Now, ethnic cleansing is a tough term, but that's what Israeli historians now agree that has happened after Israel opened its archives. They documented massacres, rapes, poisoning of wells, destruction of villages. 500 plus villages were depopulated and destroyed, Palestinian villages. In 1948, and Israel ended up in control of 78% of Palestine, where Palestinians used to live, and 700,000 plus Palestinians ended up as refugees. What was remaining unconquered was the West Bank, Gaza, and East Jerusalem, which Israel conquered in 1967, and immediately began building colonies, settlements counter to international law. Basically, a continuation of the process of the ethnic cleansing that started in 1948, a gradual process. Now there's 750,000 Israeli colonists living beyond the 1967 lines. Gaza has, as I said, 70% of its population are refugees. Half of all of Gaza are children under 18. And the reason for that is that the adults' life expectancy is very short in Gaza for obvious reasons that will be covered tonight. Gaza is about the size of where Newport is, Aquidneck Island, a little bit bigger. Newport Island is crowded. It has 65,000 people. Gaza has 2.3 million people. Most of them are refugees from the areas where the rockets fly to. These are former Palestinian homes where they can look from behind the fence and look at their former homes being occupied by Jews from all over the world. Now, of course, killing civilians is reprehensible and unacceptable, but that's not the conflict. The conflict didn't start with Hamas shooting rockets. You have to see what's going on, what the context. A couple of years ago, Human Rights Watch and Israeli B'Tselem, leading human rights organization, and Amnesty International all agree that Israel is running an apartheid system, a system of two-tier, one for Jews and one for non-Jews. And Israel continues home demolition in the West Bank every day. Every couple of days, there's a home demolished, there's land confiscated. And that's the process of ethnic cleansing continuing. And Palestinians are now living in what looks like a Swiss cheese inside the West Bank, segregated from the world. They have to take Israeli permission. They can't control their skies. They can't control their underground water. They can't dig wells without Israeli permission. For Gaza, the situation is much worse. In 2007, Gazans were first time allowed to elect somebody, and they elected Hamas. Now, Hamas was actually, ironically, supported by Israel in the 1980s because they are counter to Arafat and the PLO. So it was a way to undermine the PLO. So Israel supported the birth of today's Islamic organization of Hamas. And now it's reaping the whirlwind. So in 2007, Gazan elected Hamas, and Israel hermetically sealed Gaza. They said you can't leave, you don't control anything. They just turned Gaza into what the British Prime Minister said is an open air prison. And that's what it is. It's an open air prison. Israel controls the water, the food, the electricity. They don't have an army. They don't have a navy. They don't have a port. They don't have an airport. Everything is, whatever they built in the past, Israel destroyed. So they are totally dependent on Israel. Israel suffocates them slowly. Actually, in 2007, they imposed a blockade, and Israel, the Israeli chief negotiator and a consultant to Netanyahu at the time, he said, we're going to put Gazans on a diet. We're going to make sure they don't starve, but just a little bit above that. And they laughed. That's basically how they view the Palestinians. I mean, if anybody is confused about the situation, just reverse the roles. Just imagine 2.3 million Jews imprisoned in Gaza, and Palestinians control the perimeter, control their food. Right away, we understand what the situation is. We don't need explanation. The media presents it as a complex struggle. We don't know what's going on, complex thing, but they're presenting the Israeli case. Israel would like to throw sands in your face, but the reality is that the complex is very simple. We know who is conquering and who is being conquered. So as you suffocate people, they are likely to rebel and to explode in very violent ways. And to add insult to injury, the government of Netanyahu added ministers in his government that are openly racist and openly for Palestinian expulsion, and openly for destroying the Al-Aqsa Mosque, which is a very holy site for Islamists, for Islamic religion, and for everybody, mostly majority Palestinian who are Muslims. And they knew that Hamas would react whenever they do something like that. So the response was well expected. It was not a surprise. What's a surprise is the volume and the power. And every time Israel bombs and destroys, the next phase of Hamas is even worse. As you noticed, the more you beat someone, the more violent he becomes, and the more his resistance will be destructive. And one more item I want to mention is that let me review my notes here. The Palestinians now have a choice. Always they did. Is either to die slower away from the camera or to die fast in front of the camera. They said we're dead anyway. We might as well die in front of the camera for others to know. So far, 1,000 children died. 1,000 Palestinian children died. The media was up in arms about 40 supposedly beheaded Jewish children. Turned out to be false. But nobody talks about 1,000. Just as I was coming here, a hospital in the part where Israelis told Gazans to evacuate to. And evacuation means ethnic cleansing when you're under the gun. Even bombed the areas that were supposed to evacuate to. They bombed the convoys. They killed 70 people. It's in the news. All you have to do is look. So, and the media presents it as civilian got caught in the crossfire. What crossfire when you throw bombs that destroys high rises in residential area in the most densely populated area in the world? So. And by the way, just as a side note, I want to mention, it's a little bit off, but every week Israel bombs Syria. Has anybody heard about that? Just last week, Israel bombed Damascus airport, bombed Aleppo airport. It bombed it again a couple of weeks before that. It bombs Damascus, any area. Of course, it's always killing terrorists. It's been killing terrorists for the last 75 years. Something is wrong. Maybe we should look at the origin of the conflict and understand the basis before we pass judgment on people who are being destroyed slowly, and now food and electricity being cut off Gaza, which is the definition of genocide. And the foreign minister and president said everybody in Gaza is guilty, and they dubbed them as human animals. With that, I want to finish so I can give space for others to speak. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sami. Our next speaker is Dr. Omar Akbar, who is a community member from Mashhad Kareem. So please welcome Dr. Omar Akbar.
I begin in the name of God, the most merciful, the most compassionate. I wanted to share a few points that I think we should all take home tonight, and think about and see how we can contribute to helping either ourselves, others, and what kind of contribution we can make to ending and resolving this conflict. A few things that my predecessor here, prior speaker, mentioned that I intended to mention. Everybody here is going to get this question right. What's the smallest state in the United States? Yeah. How many square miles is Rhode Island? 1,500. Gaza is 140 square miles, less than 1/10 of Rhode Island. How many people in Rhode Island? 1 million. How many people in Gaza?
2.3 million.
2.3 million. So you can imagine a place 1/10 of the size of Rhode Island that has more than double the population. And this place for the past 17 years has been blockaded by Israel. In other words, what comes in is monitored and limited. And as the previous speaker said, there's been actual releases of diplomatic wires between the U.S. and Israel that were leaked, that showed the exact words I don't have, but they amount to a persistent deprivation, so that they are kept on the brink of collapse, not collapse, but on the brink of collapse. And there is apparently a calorie count that was performed that Israel was using to limit the amount of food that comes into Gaza. So they are blockaded through air, through land, through sea. Everything gets controlled and limited. Their movements are limited. The goods that come in and out are limited. Their activities are limited. Where they can go and when they can go is limited. There is 50%, approximately 50% unemployment in Gaza. Why is that? Well, there's electricity for 11 hours of the day because there's one power plant. So electricity for half the day, and they can't have an economy because it's limited. Everything that comes in is limited. 80% of the piped water is unfit for human consumption. And so and these are just some of the facts, I don't have time to get into all of them. Considering these facts and many others, not only the UK Prime Minister, but many others, including our own former President Jimmy Carter, Nelson Mandela, who knows apartheid, right? If there's one person who knows apartheid, it's Nelson Mandela. All of these people have said that this is an open air prison and an apartheid state. So you shouldn't feel, shock and awe of making this statement. In some ways, it is shocking, obviously, that we live in a society where our government is supporting an apartheid state. But people like Jimmy Carter, Nelson Mandela, David Cameron, Desmond Tutu, Amnesty International, the UN, Professor Noam Chomsky, I'm sure many of you know, Miko Peled, who's an Israeli-American, Norman Finkelstein, again, another Israeli-American, Jabor Mate, all of these people who are prominent, academics have come to the conclusion that this is an apartheid state, an open-air prison. And so what's happening right now is it was an explosion. And so this was a difficulty and blockade and oppression and all of this limitation and starvation that led to what happened here. And certainly it's important to remember the innocent people. We speak for the innocent people, and we reject those tactics that lead to the killing of innocent people. And so when you have an open blockade in this way, and you're targeted every single day, and many of us, we think that, somehow this targeting of Palestinians just started. That somehow it just started. It's actually been ongoing for a long time. And if you can see my screen, this is actually from an independent UN Council investigation that revealed that Israel has been intentionally targeting children and journalists. Okay, so this actually has been happening for a long time. This is nothing new. And so for those of us that believe in the international powers like the UN, Amnesty International, the Human Rights Watch, all of these organizations have condemned the use of these criminal war tactics. And so my message to us today on this university campus is three things. ABC. A is for apartheid. This is an apartheid state, and we have to call it for what it is. Now, B is that this blockade is inhumane and against all kinds of human laws. And that needs to end, because this blockade and the treatment of the Palestinians for the past 75 years has led to what is happening today. And number three, for C, complicity. Our government is complicit. Not only complicit, but actually supportive of these criminal activities that are happening, that are killing children. And again, as you can see, this targeting children is not, it can't be condoned anytime. And unfortunately, many in the media, after hearing, well, Hamas did this and that, and certainly, again, I condemn the murder of innocent people, whichever side it's on. And when you do that, you have to remember that you can't say, which is what many people in the media are saying, that whatever is happening in Palestine now is a reaction to what happened in Israel. What is happening now is just worse than what's been happening there for a long time. And so for ourselves, how do we contribute? How do we help these people? Remembering to educate ourselves. Remember these ABCs: apartheid state, blockade that needs to end, and complicity from our government. So that is something that we can do, that we can write to our elected officials and tell them we want our money, our tax dollars, the over $3 billion that get sent there, we want that to stop and be conditioned upon humane treatment of innocent people in Gaza. With that, I conclude. Thank you all for listening.
Thank you, Dr. Omar. Our next speaker will be President Mark Parlon.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having me. I also want to give thanks to the MSA and for MESA for organizing this evening. So as the university president, first of all, it is so important that we can come together and that we can feel safe and do so. We have to recognize this evening that there are certainly millions of people who do not feel safe, welcome, or free in their own homes and countries. The atrocities unfolding are like none that this generation has ever seen. A true humanitarian crisis for Palestinian families and the innocent casualties of war. Indeed, what is happening over there does impact our lives over here. The URI community is truly global. We have Israeli and Palestinian students, faculty, staff, and alumni, and there are many more who have close ties to the region. The pain and suffering felt by all people throughout the region is and will be completely heart-wrenching. And in cases like these, it is majority innocent people who are impacted by the violence. But I have to say, this evening, events like today are exactly why I feel grateful to be part of the URI community, where we can come together to mourn, to reflect, to talk, and to have difficult conversations and to find common ground. This is what being part of this country is all about, what being part of URI is all about. This is, in fact, what's happening this evening also in Edwards Auditorium right now, bringing together divergent, polarizing points of view to find common ground. Over the course of this past week, there have been thousands of statements and thousands of opinions on the events in Israel, Gaza, and the Middle East. It is difficult to imagine finding common ground during times like these. But I can say with certainty that the loss of just one life is a loss for all of humanity, and at stake here is the right of all humans to live free from fear. Many people across our campuses and in the community have shared their stories or sent me emails expressing their concerns or feelings. And I want you to know that I hear you and that I support you. And I also recognize that many of you may feel hurt, angry, or helpless. There are events happening in the world that we have no control over. And so we, as a community, owe it to ourselves to care for one another, to stand together, and to listen to each other. And we as a community must decide what we can do right here, right now. It is imperative that we reject and call out hatred and bigotry whenever and wherever we see it. We condemn violence in any form. We advocate for all human rights. We empathize with all humans seeking to live in peace. We value all human life, and we educate ourselves by listening to others. I am not a historian or an expert on the events unfolding in the world. I don't know what will happen or what the future holds. But I do know that I am committed to keeping our community safe, prioritizing well-being, ensuring that you all feel welcome, ensuring that you have a place to be heard. And I stand here today with you and the greater URI community with the hope that everyone seeking peace in the world will find it. Please reach out to me. I am here. There are resources available, and I want to thank the organizers for organizing today's event. Thank you.
Thank you, President Mark Prolong. Our next speaker is Sterek Zaza, who's known me since I was 5 years old, and who holds a deep place in my heart. And she has been a Palestinian advocate and educator for many years, so please welcome her.
Assalamu alaikum everyone, my name is Sterek Zaza. I am a Muslim. I am from Syria, and I am Palestinian in a sense that Palestine is my home too. I didn't know what to speak about when, I'm driving here, and earlier I was at home and I heard about the bombing at the hospital. I want to be all over the place, forgive me. First of all, this sign right here. I purchased the sign last week. I put it out on my lawn, and my street is very busy, and I put this on my lawn as I did for Black Lives Matter and when the Syrian war was happening. And then a few days ago, I'm sitting in my room listening to the news, and a young boy was stabbed. And I ran outside and took the sign down. God forgive me. because my grandchildren live with me and they are Palestinian. I feared for their life. My 6-year-old Maryam, my 3-year-old Balqis. I felt like a coward. I cried and cried because of the sense of helplessness that I feel. I had a whole thing in my head to say today, but after I saw the bombing today for the hospital, there are no words to describe what is happening in Gaza right now. There are no words to describe what is happening to our Palestinian brothers and sisters. There are no words to describe how innocent those children are and those people are. I said this at another vigil the other day, and the only thing that keeps me going every minute is knowing that they are in heaven and they are with the angels. Because oh no, I'm not done. The other thing I want to say is, you know, the last count was 1,000 children that died. Earlier I looked, it was 1,300 after the bombing today. I don't think we will ever have the correct number. You have all seen videos, you've all read stories, you've watched the news. I have seen them open a hole in the ceiling and children just dropping dead. And forgive me, but our last speaker, thank you, President, for speaking for URI, but you made no mention of Palestine. No mention of the Palestinian people. The speech was so vague. Why are we being such cowards? Why aren't we standing up? Yesterday I was in Boston at Copley Square for the rally, and there was this one girl who spoke about her family in Gaza and how she speaks to them every single day. And every single day, at least 10 to 15 people in her family are dying, and how her mother tells her, "Nahna al maut ya habibti," we're on our way to death. And the world, the United States is funding this. Our tax dollars is funding this. I am not proud to be an American right now. I'm not proud to be paying taxes. I am not proud to stand here. I want to be with my people. This sign, I remember the first rally I went to back in 2000, end of 2008, 2009, for the same cause, for the same purpose. And we're still listening to this day after day after day. This is not acceptable anymore. It's not acceptable. I don't know what else to say. I just ask all of you, all of our Muslim brothers and sisters, to please recite the Fatiha. May your families, for the children and people that have died, one day join you up in heaven as you play with the angels. It is harder for us on this earth that is so temporary. Free Palestine.
Free Palestine.
Free Palestine.
Free Palestine. Yes, Derek.
Thank you, Derek, for your heartfelt message. Next, we'll have Sana, who will be who is a member of the South Asian Student Association, speak. So please welcome Sana.
Good evening, everyone. I wanted to take a quick moment to just have 15 seconds of silence after that wonderful and heart-moving speech. Starting now, you can make a prayer, you can just think of all the people lost, but just 15 seconds of quiet just to observe silence. Thank you. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I wanted to reiterate my gratitude for being here. I see faces from multiple different organizations, and I'm so proud that all of you are here. All of you have taken the time out of your day to be here and to stand in solidarity with Palestine and Palestinians. My name is Sana Feroz. I'm here on behalf of the South Asian Student Association, but in reality, I represent multiple different organizations on this campus. I have multiple familiar faces in the crowd, and I'm so happy to see all of you here. It means so much to me, and it means even more for the Palestinians who are suffering right now. Saturday, October 7th, exactly 10 days from today, I recall scrolling on Instagram and coming across the first few headlines about the retaliation. Naturally, as the algorithm of Instagram functions, the more time you spend on a particular topic, the more it resurfaces in the rest of your feed. This is exactly what happened to me. I continued to check in on social media applications and gained more information about the situation unfolding, which was a combination of images, of statements, especially statements condemning the victims and protecting the oppressors on my feed. As a strong ally of Palestinians, I began to share and repost informative slides, horrific yet realistic images, and meaningful statements. Several of these images and posts were those of my peers and my acquaintances, who were also sharing information on this subject through constant reposting. I didn't realize in the moment, but in hindsight, I was learning from each and every one of these posts, which were advocating, educating, informing, revealing, and above all, reminding. I was constantly at the start of my day and by the end of my day reminded of what was happening, watching the situation unfold from a little screen at the comfort of my home, at the warmth of my bed. With peaceful silence and an absence of chaos around me, I saw, I watched, and I shared the content. Now, some of you may wonder, what's the point, Sana? What's the point of sharing? What's the point of reposting? What's the point of speaking? In fact, what is the point of even being here if we aren't directly shielding Palestinians from being gunned down? If we aren't directly holding the buildings that come down on them? If we aren't feeding the hungry, if we aren't housing the homeless, we aren't saving anyone. Sana, what is the point of it all? I used to be one of those people. 10 days back, I was one of those people wondering, what's the point of coming together? What's the point of marching? What's the point of talking? What's the point of engaging in any of these activities at all? Today, I have an answer. 10 days of being reminded resulted in me having a response, and today I'm going to share that response with each and every one of you. I'm going to give you 3 reasons on why what we are doing is nothing. It's not nothing. Number 1, you are recognizing. The historic narrative of this situation is one that doesn't recognize Palestine, is one that ignores and completely sidelines the Palestinian struggle. It is one that conveniently labels the struggle to achieve human rights and eternal freedom as negative action rooted in discrimination and simple terrorism. When you repost, when you speak up, when you have these difficult conversations, you are recognizing the ignored, the denied, the harmed. You are putting spotlight on Palestinians after watching 8 decades of them being in the shadows. Number 2, you are supporting. By speaking up, by hitting repost on your social media, by standing here, you are actively supporting a cause, whether you realize it or not. A cause that is rooted in nearly 80 years of injustices and that has never received the kind of recognition that they so strongly and deeply deserve. You're giving your assistance, your help, for something to exist. By recognizing and by supporting, you are giving a part of yourself, your presence, to a greater cause that is and should be a grave concern for all of humanity. And number 3, you are challenging. This is my favorite one. You are challenging. When you recognize, when you support, you are indirectly challenging the norm. You are challenging the voices of inadequate leaders and decisions by governments across the world. You are challenging the black and white agenda of this situation. You are challenging the biases, the negativity. You are challenging the linguistic war. Keep that mind. Keep that word in your mind. The linguistic war taking place on every social media platform, every news channel. You are challenging the algorithm. Oh, do you not see? You are challenging the norm. The norm is all around us, especially in a state where Palestinians are poorly acknowledged. And by being here today and by reposting the situation and the people of Palestine, you are challenging the norm. You are standing against a system of oppression. And let me remind you, this is not going to be easy. This is not going to be one day's work. It has taken 8 decades, and it may take a couple more. But know that you are actively challenging the oppression. You all are part of this journey, and I hope to see each and every one of you till the very end. These are 3 reasons. And these are not the only reasons to stand up, to use your voice, to use your platform. But let these 3 points stay with you today. Let them get comfortable. Let them make a home in your heart, in your mind, to recognize, to support, to challenge. Let these 3 reasons make a home in your heart. Allow these reasons to encourage you to advocate for Palestine through conversations, through social media, through protest, and through action. Quit underestimating the power of your voice, your presence, your words. Palestine calls out for you. They need you. And you are their only hope. I want to conclude my statement by reminding you all to engage in mental health checks throughout this journey. As a student of psychology, please check up on yourself and others, and please be gentle on yourselves. Many of us are blessed to have this privilege, to simply experience this battle through our screens. I urge you all to use that privilege. Use that privilege. Talk about the situation. Repost on Instagram. Repost solidarity images. Speak about it. Talk about it with your friends, with your family, whoever you feel comfortable with, but have the conversation. And ask how you can be an aid. Mourn the dead. And never stop talking about Palestine. Today, I'm here on behalf of the South Asian Student Association to remind you all that we stand in solidarity with Palestine. And now say it with me. Thank you. The last sentence, I want you all to say it with me. I'm going to say it first and you repeat after me in chorus, okay? From the river to the sea.
The river to the sea.
Palestine will be free.
Palestine will be free.
From the river to the sea,
From the river to the sea,
Palestine will be free.
Palestine will be free.
From the river to the sea,
The river to the sea,
Palestine will be free.
Palestine will be free.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Sana, so much for that powerful speech. It reminded us of how important our voices are. Good evening, Namaste, Salam Alaikum. My name is Arga, and I am the president of the South Asian Students Association. I'm so sorry. Thank you for joining us today as we gather to remember. So sorry. As we gather to honor and remember the lives of those who have been lost in a series of tragic events in the past week. As the president of the South Asian Students Association, I am deeply honored to stand with you and express my complete and full solidarity with the Palestinian people and to share our thoughts and condolences during this difficult time. I strongly condemn the atrocities of the past 7 days, of the past 17 years of Israel's siege of Gaza, of 75 years of Israeli ethnic cleansing, of Israel's systemic ethnic cleansing of Palestine, and of the apartheid against Palestine. Close to 4,000 Palestinians have been killed by the Israeli apartheid regime, as we all know. Thousands of them are children, and I had to change this statistics thrice, and I started writing the speech in the morning. And then I found out that they bombed a hospital and a church, and also, I think, a school.
Yes.
How cruel do you have to be able to do that? That is supposed to be the safest place. They seek refuge there because they have some faith in humanity left. They at least hope that you wouldn't bomb a hospital. This vigil is a testament to our shared commitment to justice, equality, and well-being. This is not a Muslim or an Arab issue. This is a human issue. This is what a Palestinian father had to say. I want to play a scavenger hunt with my children and not hunt them under a rubble. My wish is that when these bombs drop, I hope we all die together so that nobody is left to mourn those who were killed. I am not a number. It took me 23 years to become the person that you see today. I have home and friends and memory and pain. You know what? The world is constantly dehumanizing itself to solve its own problems. I'm crying here like a crazy person, not able to give this speech, but I think that is so important to feel these emotions. If our politicians felt maybe some percentage of it, maybe we wouldn't be here. How many of you commute to the university? Yeah? We have 8 AM classes, right? Very ugly. Hate them. For lazy ones like me, I live 5 minutes away. I will wake up 15 minutes earlier. But you know how early a Palestinian has to wake up to go to his job is 8 AM? Maybe 3 or 2. If someone in the West Bank maybe works in Israel, to cross a checkpoint, it takes them hours. So they have to get in line at 3 and 4 AM every day. This is not one special day for them.
I'll call you later.
I have a friend from Palestine, and all his friends that he grew up with are back there, and they have a group chat, and every few hours he keeps opening it, trying to see if they're still alive. So every time I call him, he's just telling me that, well, I haven't gotten the next text message. I don't know. It's like she mentioned, it is such a privilege to be able to take a break from it, because for some people, that is it. And I don't know what evacuation people keep talking about when there's no fuels. How do you expect them to evacuate if there are no fuels in the car? And where do you expect them to go? There's bombing literally everywhere. And frankly, I do not think there is a political nuanced middle ground to take here when it comes to human rights issues like this. You can only be on one side. Unless you're silent and on the side of the oppressor. That's totally understandable. Do not let these become individual stories of personal tragedies. Do not talk about death in terms of toll numbers. For you, this might be a 7-day issue. For them, it's been going on for 75 years. If you've ever wondered how the Holocaust, the apartheid occurred, now we know. It is a result of our collective silence. But you know, in this day and age with so much privilege, with a phone that's available to us in the tap of our hands, not speaking up is criminal. There's no neutrality when it comes to human rights. If you're silent, you're siding with the oppressor, so speak up for the graves that cannot come out of the ground to speak for themselves. You spend 75% of your time on social media, and when you see that mainstream media isn't going to showcase your stories, you gotta be the one to do that. Educate yourself, spread the word, and honestly, grow a pair and learn to have an opinion. It is not a hot take to protest a government that has openly commenced that they are starving 2.2 million people of food, electricity, and water. And 50% of those 2.2 million people are children. Interact with Palestinian posts, talk about it, educate yourself. It is a reminder of the urgent need of peace, compassion, and understanding in our world. Regardless of our beliefs, our nationalities, our backgrounds, we all share a common humanity, and it is our responsibility to advocate for peace, justice, and protection for human rights. Now say with me. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free.
From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free.
From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free.
From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free.
From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free.
From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sana and Arga, for your messages and support. Our next speaker is Lena, who is the Vice President of the Muslim Student Association. So please welcome her.
First, thank you all for coming from different faiths, from different backgrounds and clubs and organizations. That truly is empowering to all of us. I really don't know what to add to what they said, although just to clarify some things that they've said about the hospital that has been bombed today. Just 3 hours ago, as I was in class, I found out. The hospital is indeed a Christian hospital. They took shelter in there because there was no other place to take shelter. And like Arga said, they thought that there's still humanity in this place. So they thought the hospital where they will be safe. Unfortunately, that's not the case. Unfortunately, this is not the case for an apartheid state. Apartheid state that has been committing genocides after genocides after genocides and massacres and after massacres. But all of you were deaf for it. Deaf to the dying Palestinians. And all of you heard about the occupation, probably some of you, about the occupation on October 7th. Why there was so much lack of education about what was happening prior to that. About the March of Return 2018, or the killing of Shireen Abu Akleh just last year. How about the storming of the Al-Aqsa Mosque just this year? Or the storming of a Jenin camp in the West Bank where 9 Palestinians were killed. Why weren't you hearing of all of this? Why weren't you making statements and sending emails? We hold solidarity with the Palestinians. And I always emphasize, just like Sana said, representation and voice. Why is that important? Why? Because of what happened literally yesterday. A 7-year-old Palestinian in Illinois was stabbed 26 times. Do you know why? Because of a white supremacist. His name is Joseph. He's 72 years old. He's the lord of the place that they used to live in, that Palestinian kid. He opened the door and stabbed him 26 times. After that, he proceeded to stabbing the mother, just because they're Palestinian. Prior to this event that happened, that landlord used to love this Palestinian. In fact, he used to play with him. It was his favorite child in the neighborhood. What changed? What changed is the lack of representation and talking about the Palestinians from our president, Biden.
Asshole!
Indeed.
Sorry.
This is what happened. When you don't talk about both sides, when you only talk about one side, this is what happens. You raise anti-Palestinian, anti-Arabic sentiments, anti-Islam, Islamophobia. We're already dealing with this, already. As a URI student here, I think I'm a very prominent student. I'm a Truman Scholar. I was a part of the research team that launched the biggest human rights data set in the world. I think I'm very loved, which I thought I was actually, until I saw a statement that was sent by URI president, where it only acknowledged the Israeli side, that condemned Hamas, but didn't even talk about the Palestinians. Do you know why this is important? Because we have even students here in URI that are Palestinians. Their families are in Gaza. Their families are being killed. You have students who are Arabs, who are Muslims, who have different views. Why is this not important to acknowledge? Why? Is it too hard to say we mourn the Palestinian lives that have been lost? Is it too hard to say I feel sorry for your loss? Is it too hard to say to form an opinion? And for the students our age, please educate yourself. Please rely on good sources. Do not form your opinion because Justin Bieber just reposted something Save Israel and the kids in the post were actually Palestinian, or because Kylie Jenner was paid $10,000 to maybe just repost something about Israel. We mourn all people that have been killed. We mourn all of them. But what we're asking here is to not be biased, is to check your resources, to read more, educate yourself more. And the fact that many, many people I know just heard about the occupation of Palestine just on October 7th is insane. It's insanity. How could you just hear about an occupation that has been going on for 75 years, an open prison in Gaza for 16 years, limited on resources, water, fluid, everything you would, like literally everything, and we just hear about it? Isn't it insanity? Isn't it an education gap? And one more thing. The University of Rhode Island is built on indigenous land, Niantic people. Before every event, like Haddis said today, he acknowledged the land acknowledgement that we've been taught here at the URI. We cherish this acknowledgement that this university has been built on indigenous people's land. But we fail as a university, as an institution, to acknowledge the indigenous people of Palestine. Isn't this pure hypocrisy?
Yes.
Isn't it? And it does not align with the URI community values, indeed. If you're going to make an acknowledgement for Niantic people, you must make an acknowledgement for the Palestinian people, to the indigenous people of Palestine. I actually didn't prepare much to speak, but as Tariq was talking about her identity of being Syrian and how it concludes to being a Palestinian, I remembered myself as a Syrian. I am a Syrian refugee. I came to the US in 2016. 2 years ago, I got my citizenship. Therefore, I am an American. I pay taxes, and my taxes fund Israel. You as an American should be mad. I'll tell you why you should be mad. You take loans. You pay for college. After you graduate, your loans actually become more, and you have to pay. You're also, at some point, you'll become a patient. You have to go to the hospital. You don't even have free health insurance. $8 billion were passed like this to Israel just last week. It was so hard for the government to forgive student loans. Why is that so hard?
They get free health care.
They get free health care. They actually have one of the best free health care. My argument here is that as Americans, you should be mad when our tax money is being spent on an apartheid state. You should be mad when our money is spent on killing of kids. You should be mad when our money is a part of genocide, ethnic cleansing. United Nations experts just called for immediate ceasefire. But ceasefire from whom? From what two parts? It's only one country that is bombing at this point. One sovereign state, quote unquote. They warned of an ethnic cleansing. And I remember myself in Syria. I'm from Daraa, which is the cradle of the Syrian revolution. The first protest took part in my neighborhood. The first person to die was a friend of my brother. His name is Hamza al-Khatib. He too was shot 7 times. His genitals were cut off. Hamza al-Khatib was the first case in the Syrian history or the revolution. I slept on gunshots. I woke up on gunshots. I ate breakfast while listening to gunshots. The gunshots were like singing birds to me at some point. I laid my back on a shaking door. And I usually don't even talk about Syria. But now, the that wasn't in Syria is the Palestinian that is in Palestine. And the kids that are killed in Syria are the kids that are being killed in Palestine. You don't understand. The hospital that was just bombed, 500 people died. 300 of those were kids. The father, one of the fathers that was in the hospital, held his kids in the bag. Their parts were cut off because of the rubble of the bombing. I feel this pain because I lived this pain. I grew up on this pain. I'm a child of a revolution, of a war zone, of an oppression, of everything you would say. And I feel the Palestinian kids in Palestine. I feel their pain. And I feel how they got numb to it. They say if October 7th is an Israeli oppression for one day, is the everyday Palestinian life. They got numb to this. And you all got numb to the word occupation. You all got numb to the word ethnic cleansing. You all got numb to the idea that those kids are dying. We tell you 1,300 people, our kids, our children, got killed. And some of you, no reaction. It's okay. Palestinian child can die. Just the way we got numb to the Syrian cause. Just the same way we got numbed when I say a refugee, a displaced person, internally displaced person. We got numb to this. And we must never be numbed. Never. Let this make you cry. Let this make you be bothered. Be bothered. Be annoyed. Feel something in your heart. Feel it. The fact that you feel something sometimes about something you see on screen is a fact that there's still humanity. And I pray for all of our humanity. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you. They all said, from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. In Arabic, we say something else. We say, من المية للمية, فلسطين عربية. From the water to the water, Palestine is an Arab nation. مية للمية, فلسطين عربية. من المية للمية, فلسطين عربية. And we mourn all lives that have been lost. Keep them in your prayers. Like Derek said, it's not the people that died that it's hard. It's on the people that stayed that it's hard. We're mourning the people. We'll continue to do so. And thank you for listening. And now I'm going to introduce Imam Abdul Latif. He is the Imam of my local masjid in Providence, Rhode Island. He's very active in the community. And he's a part of the Charity Week organization that funds and fundraises for children, mostly in Gaza, in Palestine. Please welcome him. Thank you so much.
Assalamu alaikum. Alhamdulillah. I always start and talk about this with this particular verse from the Quran. Allah says, Ya ayyuhan nas, O mankind, inna khalaqnakum min dhakarin wa untha. Verily we have made you from a male and female. We are all kulukum min Adam wa Adam min turab. All of us are from Adam, the first man, and Eve, the first woman. We are all human beings, from one man and one woman. But God made us into different colors and languages. In these different colors and languages is beauty. And my Palestinian brothers and sisters are beautiful. They are human beings. They are not animals. They are not animals. They are human beings. How can you sit back and allow this to happen without saying a word? Without saying a peep? How can you, human beings? Don't you breathe? Doesn't blood flow through your veins? Any life is taken, it's not good. Then Allah says, كذلك جعلناكم أمة وسطا. Therefore, we have made you a people that stands for justice. Stand up for what is right. Stand for justice and stand up for what's right. Where's the justice? Where's the justice? I want to read the beginning of this poem by Billie Holiday. She sang this in 1939. I'm going to read part of it. It's called Strange Fruit. Strange fruit. Southern trees bear strange fruit. Blood on the leaves and blood at the root. Black bodies swinging in the southern breeze. Strange fruit hanging from the poplar tree. This is the beginning of it. This was a poem to protest what was happening to African Americans. They were getting hanged from a tree just similar to this. And there were people standing just like you were. Black bodies hanging from the trees like strange fruit. And they were taking pictures like it was a picnic. Taking pictures and viewing and watching and smiling. And they didn't stop there. They not only did they hang the bodies, but they burnt the bodies. They didn't stop there. Not only did they burn the bodies, but they cut up body parts as souvenirs. And this is what is happening now to my brothers and sisters in Palestine. They want to eradicate them, liquidate. And that's what they're doing. And we are just sitting by and watching. I said, how can all those people watch and allow those things to happen back then? To the Native American Indians, to the African Americans, to the South Africans, watching. They're not just taking pictures of the strange fruit hanging from the trees now. It's in 3D, and we're watching. Oh, I'm not concerned. That doesn't bother me. Where is your humanity? Where is your humanity? Bombing a hospital with kids. The other day, on Friday, I had a press conference with the governor of Rhode Island to talk about feeding the poor. This is a good thing, right? But he started the press conference talking about Israel.
Coward.
And supporting Israel. And mentioned nothing about the Palestinians. I felt so sick. I'm done. I'm done. I wipe my hands with this governor. I'm freaking done. All those people in politics. They care only about money. They don't care about humanity. You want help for the homeless and the poor? You are progressive. Yes, except for my Palestinian brothers and sisters. I am done with you. You're oppressed by people here in America, African American. Now you spread your oppression all over the world. I am done.
Allahu Akbar.
I'm tired of talking nice. How many people will die because of oppression, of white supremacy? That's what it's all about. Zionists. They are all together. But brothers and sisters, we are more. We have to speak up. We have to stand up. We have to speak up and we have to stand up. No more. Let the cough. Don't be afraid. God is with you. And the majority of the world is with you. With us. So I pray ask forgiveness from my Native American brothers and sisters, the indigenous people of America, the indigenous people all over the world, ask forgiveness. We didn't stand up. We didn't speak up for the African Americans. All of those who lost their lives were oppressed with Jim Crow and all that, and hanged. Ask forgiveness. Ask forgiveness for my South African brothers and sisters. Ask forgiveness for my brothers who are oppressed all over the world, in Yemen, in Australia, the indigenous people of Australia, the Rohingya. All my brothers and sisters, because we're all brothers and sisters in the family. I ask forgiveness for my Palestinian brothers and sisters. We should kiss their feet. We should kiss them. How long have they been suffering? Sorry.
Jazakallah, thank you for all the speakers who spoke today. And thank you for all the community for being here today in our support and solidarity. We will end with a moment of silence. Please silently make prayer and dua in your heart and reflect on everything that has been spoken today. And I'll talk when we are done. But
Thank you all for joining us. I really truly appreciate all of your presence. The time that we've been here since 5:30 and it's almost 7 p.m. Your presence here is appreciated. And we're just going to make last announcement. Next Saturday, there will be a protest at the courthouse, I think. And the reason for that is to stop the genocide and the ethnic cleansing of Palestinians. Like you said, we've mentioned so many times, $8 billion has been sent to Israel to support this apartheid. Actually, come speak about this. Oh, yeah.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. So we're going to be holding a rally and march at 1 p.m. at the State House in Rhode Island. I would really appreciate if everybody could spread the word. I don't know if you have my Instagram, but I'll ask Nina to post it as well. But spread the word. We need as many people as we can to come out and support our brothers and sisters in Gaza, because we are their voices, because they can't speak for themselves right now. So this is what we have to do. And I would greatly appreciate it if everybody could spread the word about this rally. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Yes, I just want to reiterate what Farah just said. It is a march and a rally all out for Palestine. And we want hands off Palestine, no arms to Israel, and the genocide in Palestine. Everyone should be there. I attended a vigil a little while, maybe last week, and I shared it myself with, I want to say about 700 to 800 people, and 20 people from the community attended. And I was so embarrassed. So I want, and I plead with you to tell everyone, we should have over 1,000 people at this rally from every faith, from every color, from every belief. Our Jewish brothers and sisters that are against the Israelis and the Zionists, we want them out there. All of our Muslim brothers and sisters, bring out your flags, your kufiyas, raise your hands up high, bring your ponchos and umbrellas, rain or shine. We are going to march for Palestine. Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Yes, everyone please. In New York, Brooklyn, there was a huge protest that gathered thousands of Jewish people against the ethnic cleansing of Palestinians. I just want to say one thing, and actually very important, that sometimes we feel like we can't speak because our statements will be taken out of context and will be put in places that are not there. They don't belong. We will be called things that we aren't, literally, and we'll lose our jobs. Sometimes we'll be kicked out of school, and sometimes we'll be stabbed 26 times, and our mother will be in the hospital, like just what happened in Illinois. But I want you to know that your voice in the US, despite all these difficulties and obstacles, still can be heard. What I want is that for you to acknowledge your privilege, especially as a white person and as a Jewish person who's against apartheid, who's against the ethnic cleansing of Palestinians. What happened in Brooklyn literally shed light on so many things. When the Jewish community took it to the street, we said, stop using our Holocaust, our struggle, to commit a genocide. They said that themselves. Stop using the Jewish name to commit a genocide. That's just not fair. That's just not fair. And I want you to know, you as a white person, as a Jewish person, as a Christian person, literally have more power than us. And if you use your voice, it will be stronger than us. But imagine if we all together at that rally, speaking the same truth, to stop the genocide and the ethnic cleansing of Palestinians and the support of the apartheid state. Again, thank you so much. I really, truly appreciate you all, and we just have to end it now. Thank you for coming. We appreciate you. Thank you.
I have like a bunch of these in there, like not a bunch of these, just like a bunch of